Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, the show where we talk the Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat if you're a sub over there. We'd love to have you to talk about theories and thoughts about the shows as they go on. But today is actually a special bonus episode. We're not talking Disney Plus today, well, unless you watched it that way, I guess. We're talking our first MCU movie since the pandemic. We're talking about Black Widow. Just wanted to do a quick sidebar episode about our thoughts on the movie. It's going to be a different episode than typical Marvel Plus. I'm not going to do the full rundown summary, point by point, because two reasons. One, the movie's 2 hours plus long. Two, I can't keep notes during the movie, well, at least if I go to the movie theater. But you obviously had the option to do the Disney Plus Premiere access, to watch it at home. I didn't do that. Wanted to go shove some popcorn in my face, so went to the theater. Can't take notes there. So today we're going to talk about Black Widow. Like I said, my overall thoughts on the movie, things like that. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it and then come back after you've done your homework. But we're going to get into full spoilers now, full discussion of the film overall, and let's do it. So yeah, Black Widow dropped as of recording this weekend. It is now Sunday, so obviously it's had the full weekend span. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was good. I wouldn't put it at like the top tier of the Marvel movies for favorites and stuff, but I think overall it was a fun time, good action, good story. It was a solid movie, which, I mean, granted, Marvel does pretty much that most of the time. Like, there's, things here and there, obviously, that we can critique as an audience, but it's never felt like, oh, this movie was trash yet with Marvel. Will it happen? We'll see. But I thought this movie was good. Like I said, action was great, story was great, but, I can understand some criticisms with it. Some bullet points that I just wanted to talk about. Obviously, the movie is about family, and the family that got introduced in this film for Natasha's character was great. We got Red Guardian, we got Melina, her mom, and then we got the sister, which, blanking on the name, I apologize. But we got the introduction of these three characters, which I thought they all filled their roles perfectly, and were great additions to the story. I think Red Guardian's going to be the one that stands out for the comedy aspect of his character, but he was very entertaining throughout the entire film, and it was cool to see how these characters got introduced, and as we find out, will most likely stick around. One interesting thing about David Harbour's character, Red Guardian, man, he is just on something with Cap. I don't know. I know he was saying some stories in the the prison of like, oh, me and Cap fought it out, blah blah blah, and the timelines don't match up. I'm curious to know why he is so hung up on Cap, and like, I don't know, dealing with that. I'm curious if it's because, like he says in the movie, like he was put in jail and wasn't allowed to be the hero that he thought he could be, or at least like that driving force. I wonder if it's just that Cap got the fame and notoriety, and he did not, or whatever it is. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Like, obviously Steve's not around anymore, but I wonder if down the road that will come into play at all with Sam being now the new Captain America. I doubt it, but interesting to hear him like obsess over it almost, essentially. As for Melina and the sister, I thought they did well. The sister won me over more than I thought she would, because I think I've mentioned this before, maybe on a different podcast, but I was worried about this movie just being essentially like, here's the new Black Widow, which, granted, duh, it is, but I didn't want it to just be like, this is a replacement, and then for the sake of a replacement. I think she does a good job. She's entertaining, and is witty. But I thought they did great. The mom had an interesting backstory with her of like the science aspect of things, with the Red Room, etc. But I think these characters all meshed pretty well, even though it was an adoptive family. They meshed well. They learned that they cared for each other, and obviously in the end won it out, the battle, the mission. So I thought everybody played their roles well. Like I said, we will see more of them, as we saw in the end of the movie with the three of them leaving with the Black Widows. What roles they play down the road, we'll have to see. We get a little hint at the sister, which I'll talk about later. Along with the family being introduced in this film, we get our introduction of Taskmaster, one of the villains for this film. I was very excited for Taskmaster just because I've seen Taskmaster in Marvel vs. Capcom, obviously the Avengers game, Spider-Man game. Like, I've seen him in media over the past couple of years, and I really enjoyed the character's aspects and like his power set. So I was very intrigued and excited that they were including Taskmaster into this movie. I thought it was very cool seeing Taskmaster's fight scenes, seeing glimpses of obviously our other heroes that we have seen, with the mimicry power or the mimic ability, however you wanted to say it. So seeing movements like Cap with the shield, seeing movements like Black Panther, seeing Hawkeye, seeing a little bit of Spider-Man here and there, like seeing these movesets kind of copy-pasted in a way, but also implemented so that they were different, and it was just really cool. So cool to see that. I know some people are going to be a little upset. Maybe upset's a little bit of too much of an overstatement, or over whatever. I know some people are going to be upset with how Taskmaster's reveal was, of being forgetting the guy's name. The owner of the Red Room, the runner of the Red Room, his daughter ends up being Taskmaster. Just before the reveal, like I'm sure a lot of the audience, I was like, oh fuck, not oh fucking bad way, just like, oh shit, it's the daughter that's Taskmaster before the reveal of the helmet off, and it's her. I think it's actually, storytelling wise, for the movie, it was smart. They like foreshadowed it the whole time. Like, why are we focusing on the daughter so much? I get it, the guilt trip part of it, because you think you killed a child. I get that, but like they foreshadowed it throughout the whole film. So like storytelling wise, that reveal makes sense. Still surprising, obviously, for me not paying attention. I know some audiences, I'm sure it's going to be real obvious to, and to them, unfortunately, didn't get that surprise. But yeah, it was interesting way to play it. The thing that I'm super curious about, once again at the end of the film, we see the family leave and take off. Taskmaster goes with them. Obviously, she's very, coming out of this comatose-esque or mind control. She's very confused, doesn't know what's really going on, which makes sense. She's had essentially her whole life controlled. So I'm curious if they're going to go the route of, we're just going to write off Taskmaster and they're done, or if we're going to twist this into a hero thing, like Taskmaster's now a good guy, which honestly I hope they don't do. I'm down for more Taskmaster. I would want to see more of her, but I don't know. Could they do it? Of course. As far as I know, now granted my comic knowledge is not, that expansive. As far as I know, Taskmaster has not been a hero. Does that mean that they have to follow that rule and she can never be a hero? Excuse me? No, absolutely not. They could do whatever they want with their own storytelling, and it's a different media. If everything was the same comic book wise, yes, it'd be a little rewarding because, this story's coming to the main screen and to get all see the effects and stuff. But you got to do some things different here and there to keep interest. So if they went that route, it'd be interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily what I want, but then again, doesn't really matter what I want, just voicing my opinion here. So, going to be interesting to see if and when Taskmaster does return in her form, and we go from there. So yeah, thought it was cool seeing the character. Interesting reveal. Generally about the movie, I've seen some criticism going around of like, why is this movie coming out? And we talked about this as well on the Wait What podcast. Go check it out. Of like, why is this movie coming out? And I was a big component of like, there has to be a reason this movie is happening. It's setting something up. The after credits, we'll get into that. Do set stuff up, but like timeline wise, everybody was wondering why this is happening now. Why didn't this come out before? And to that criticism, I say I agree. Why didn't this movie come out earlier? The reason I think my biggest hiccup of why now is it's confusing timeline wise. Now, I don't mean like where this falls in line with the timeline, but as an audience, it's very confusing in a way to think of where and when this is taking place. There was a couple times I had to kind of think about it like, okay, so we're after Civil War. That means X hasn't happened, Y hasn't happened, blah, blah, blah. Like fitting it in. And I feel like as someone watching it, I shouldn't have to overthink it when I'm watching it, if that makes sense. So that would be my only criticism for like why you're releasing it now, is just like placing it in that timeline. And especially because it's a couple movies back. Like it's not like the gap between Infinity War and Endgame. It's Civil War, which, oh boy. Let's see, Endgame, Infinity War, and then I feel like there's a few other movies in between Civil War and Infinity War, so like you have that gap. It's just a little confusing. Is it the biggest gripe in the world? No, but it's just a thought. So like I mentioned, overall there has to be a reason we're going back to this movie, hopefully not just for the money grab. We get our answer with that of like why, with the family escaping along with Taskmaster, potential for them to come back. And as we see in the after credits scene, we see the sister go to the grave post Endgame, and we see a very interesting character appear. They tease, they knew that us as an audience, the sisters had the little whistle to each other to kind of signal. They teased us and kept things silent after the one sister whistled, to kind of hint, oh, is Natasha's whistle going to return? Which would have made zero sense and or brought up way more questions than, anything. But they were smart. I like the delivery with that and the tease of it to turn into the blowing of the nose from Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, Lady Hydra, Viper, I don't remember exactly 100%, that we've had teased in the Disney Plus show, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we have that connection now. We have our first, granted this is our first movie coming back, but we have that first tie-in Disney Plus to the films. Turns out they know each other. I assume they're working for each other, saying the sister says she wants a raise. The next target for the sister is going to be Clint. It's going to be Hawkeye. So interesting to see where that's going to play out. Now, is that going to play out in film, or is that going to play out in the TV shows? Is that going to be part of the Hawkeye series that we have coming up, or is that going to be a Black Widow 2 Hawkeye movie? Don't know. My guess is the TV show, just because that's the only hint we have right now of Hawkeye's future. But cool to see that the Hawkeye character's not done. We knew he was passing the mantle off to his daughter, but cool to see that. One big question I have from this, and we'll never get an answer, or I highly doubt we'll ever get an answer. Obviously, we have this reveal of Dreyfus's character, right? Timeline-wise, real world. Black Widow was supposed to come out a year or two ago. Does this post-credit happen during the initial release, And was that supposed to be the debut of this character? Or was Falcon and Winter Soldier always the planned debut? I hope that makes sense. Like, was this the first appearance we were actually supposed to see of this character, and that was supposed to be a big mystery? Or is it how events transpired where we saw her in the Disney Plus show and then the film? Like I said, I highly doubt we'll ever get an answer to that, but it's really intriguing to think about. On another note of the same facet, if that's the case, where they like adjusted it for pandemic, like, oh, okay, by this time Falcon and Winter Soldier will be out, let's have her character do something. What was the other scene? Like, I assume every Marvel film's got a fucking post-credit scene. So, like, what was the other scene planned? And that makes me question my theory of, like, oh, was this her first appearance or not? Like, I don't think there was a backup plan of, like, a different scene. So, like, maybe this was really supposed to be her first appearance, and that's the confusing part. And then it's, like, kind of a reward later for watching the Disney Plus show of, like, oh, shit, it's this woman that I have no idea. Oh, now we're learning more about her. Like, oh, shit, like, the sisters messed up with Hydra rebuilding business. She's with the wrong crowd, which we would already know technically as an audience because she's hunting Hawkeye. But still, like, more evidence of, like, oh no, bad stuff. So just a big question there that, like I said, I don't know if we'll ever get an answer for, but just an interesting thought of, like, if COVID didn't happen, how would that reveal play out? And then I think the last thing, major thought of the film and, like, how things rolled out is the Black Widow army that we have now. Obviously, the sisters are going to be going around freeing more and more of the widows that are around the globe. But we have the crew that we saw in the Red Room, or from the Red Room, being freed now. Does this feed more into the post-credit scene with Hydra rebuilding? Are the widows going to just kind of go into Hydra thinking that's a good idea? Because these ladies, you know, have only known the Red Room. Like, granted, a lot of it was the mind control aspect, but, like, that's their life. So, like, their decision making and maybe intuition, possibly, they are super killer assassins, their intuition might not be good enough, I don't know, that sounds weird, strong enough to kind of realize, like, Dreyfus's character isn't the best. And I mean, look at even U.S. Agent. Like, he's kind of getting like, persuaded to join whatever this is. So maybe it's the same idea. So the question is the Widow Army going to be part of rebuilt Hydra, or whatever this group force seems to be? Or is it going to be more of a thing of, like, oh, they just went on to live their lives? If it is the case of the widows going to work with this new group, yikes. That's going to be interesting. I don't know if the family's involved. The family could just be doing their own thing. Same with Taskmaster. There's a lot of questions up in the air. What are the widows doing? What's the family doing? What's Taskmaster doing? And where do we go from here? I don't know. A lot of questions come out of it, but like any Marvel show, series, movie, etc., a lot of questions, whether it's Easter egg, character related, whatever it is. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a good time. I understand people's criticisms about release time and what the plan was, but I think it was a good movie overall. And those are my thoughts on at least the big points of the film. Like I said, I couldn't possibly go point by point with the film like I can the series, or it's easy to rewatch it, or I can take notes while doing it. There's a lot that happens in this film. There was some interesting little tidbits here and there with, like, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents at the beginning. The mom experiment with the pigs was kind of fucked up, but demonstrated, like, what's going on in the Red Room. Red Room's got a helicarrier essentially up in the sky for their base. Like, some little aspects here and there. The jailbreak scene was great. But yeah, there's no way I could just go point to point with that. Maybe just with practice or whatever, maybe with Shang-Chi, when Shang-Chi rolls out, I'll have a better grasp and be able to give you point-to-point movie stuff and my thoughts as it goes, if you guys want that. But I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on the Black Widow movie. I hope you guys enjoyed the film too. If you had any critiques or thoughts on what happened and transpired in the film, please let me know in the comments section down below. And I'm definitely interested in talking with more people about this film to see what they thought. I've seen a bunch of mixed reactions. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are indifferent about it. And you know what? Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. As long as we can have that conversation, be critical, listen to each other, this was good, this was not. That's the important thing. Just have fun with it too. Like, that's essentially what all movies are. Let's have some fun. Let's escape reality a little bit and dive right into it. But this has been another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat over there if you're a sub. We'd love to hear your thoughts and crazy theories about these shows and movies as we go along with the recording. If you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. Go over to YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day, where it drops at 12 noon Eastern, and the video in MP3, so you can check it out over there. And yeah, just support it. Appreciate you guys hanging out today. Thanks for giving it a watch. Thanks for giving it a listen. Hope you enjoyed the film, and we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.